Hey guys, today's podcast is brought to you by producer Matt's Underpants.
Yeah, it is. And look, Katie, I actually just bought some new Mac
No
Weldon underpants.
way!
Yes,
Have
with
you been
my
wearing
own
that
money.
one pair that whole time?
It was finally time after 6 months to buy another pair. Just kidding. No, I have more than one.
It's a new shirt too. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. So, guys, Mac Weldon's been a sponsor of the podcast for a long time. They make amazing clothes, better than whatever you're wearing right now, listener, unless you're wearing Mac Weldon. They're the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, sweatpants you will ever wear. All their products are naturally antimicrobial, which means they don't make you stink, which is a good thing. And they look good, they perform well, you can wear them in any scenario, and I really recommend them.
What color were the underpants you bought?
Blue, black, I think that's all.
Cool.
Yeah.
Those sound great.
That was a really personal question.
Yeah, sorry. Guys, I want you to be comfortable, unlike we both
answer
are right
that.
now. So if you don't like your first pair, you can keep it and they will still refund you. No questions asked. Go to macweldon.com and get 20% off using promo code GARBAGETIME at checkout. That's macweldon.com. Using promo code GARBAGETIME, all one word, no spaces. Today's podcast, which is coming your way in a second, is also brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, which proudly supports Garbage Time. They bring the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. Fast, powerful, and completely online, Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. You know this because we tell you this every week, but if you hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork, which who doesn't, Rocket Mortgage makes it so that you can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button, helping you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation, whatever that may be. Even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or tablet. It's a quick online process you can manage from the convenience of your couch or your bed or your couch bed. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/garbagetime. That's quickenloans.com/garbagetime. Equal housing lender, license in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. Let's do a podcast.
Let's do it.
All right, folks, welcome to the Garbage Time Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Nolan, joined today by producer Matt.
Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
You know.
Yeah. A lot.
Stuff's up.
Yeah, some stuff's up.
We've got Gotham Chopra on the pod today. That'll be coming up in a little bit. We're going to talk about his show, Religion is Sports, which is premiering November 15th on Audience Network, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Very fascinating conversation there.
Yes.
Speaking of sports as not just sports, today's a tough week.
Yeah.
We had a tough week. Still processing what's happening and is going to continue to happen. We had to do the show last night, and it was a little tough because, I haven't been doing this for all that long, and I don't know that I am qualified to handle. This is a good time for construction. I don't know if I'm qualified to handle, putting aside my emotions and going on TV. I've been lucky enough that that's not really something I've ever had to do. Usually if I'm upset or angry about something, I'm allowed to be upset or angry about it. This was something decidedly not related to sports, but very much related to myself and to my friends and to the people that I know. So it was tough. So it was a little bit of a tough time for us. I appreciate you guys helping me through that. I have an amazing staff of people. But look, I'm scared, but I'm hopeful. I hope that we were wrong. I hope that we're wrong. I hope that everything's going to be fine. And I think for me, the thing that scares me the most is just all these opinions and thoughts that used to be just in my Twitter mentions, and people would say, don't feed the trolls, they're in their mother's basement. We're learning that maybe they're not just in their mother's basement. They are sort of out and about and among us and have a voice, and we just have to love each other. Please just love each other. And we're going to get through it. Anyway, sports. So Chris Weidman was on the show this week.
Chris Weidman was.
And he's going to fight on Saturday.
Yes. Are you going to go?
I think I am. I want to.
Yeah.
That's my hedging because I don't know that I have a ticket. I asked for one.
Oh.
One person said yes. When you work for a network, there's this amazing thing, which is really cool, that when you need something, you have to talk. You get contacted by like 9 different people for it.
Okay. Yep.
So I have no. One of them said I have a ticket. I have not gotten a confirmation of that.
Okay.
So I think I'm just gonna show up and be like, "Hello."
I think that
I know
might
Chris
actually
Weidman.
work for you. Yeah.
Hello, I know Chris Weidman.
That seems kind of bizarre. They should probably get you a ticket.
We'll see. and that'll be my first UFC fight ever, which I'm really excited for.
Very cool.
I asked Chris where I had to sit in order to ensure I don't get covered in blood, and he said the nosebleeds. And I said, well, that sounds backwards because now my nose is bleeding.
Yeah. Wow.
But so yeah, I've got an interesting
The
sports
nosebleeds.
weekend happening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to UFC, and then and on Saturday night I've got, again, I think I have tickets to the Patriots Seahawks game at Gillette.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I wish I was more excited, but it'll be a good weekend of distraction, I guess.
Yeah, I
Just
think
feels-
it'll be good to like go like
Yeah.
enjoy yourself. Like as hard as it is, like it's
Just
it's
feels
good.
irresponsible,
It's good to like
you
live
know?
your life.
It
Yeah.
feels irresponsible to be like, oh, I'll just distract myself with stuff that's fun.
Yeah.
It's like, it's tough, but we'll go because it's an amazing opportunity, and I'm very excited, and I love sports, and that is a part of who I am, and so I have to, stay me. So yeah, that's my weekend. You got anything good going on? You got anything cool like that?
I wish I had.
Compete
I wish
with
I
that,
had
bro.
that stuff to do. Yeah, I've got zero plans. I'll probably go to macweldon.com a few times. I
Oh,
got nothing.
shill.
Yeah,
You
I'm just a
disgusting shill.
Shill.
Ugh.
Yeah.
All right, should we fade some picks?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
First of all, last week you went 1-2. The system works. You got your lock of the week right. So
Always do.
You are somehow.
Except those other 4 times.
So you're 9-19-2 overall. And
I'm good.
500 on your lock of the week. 4-4.
Yeah, I'm good at
Interesting.
this. This is my job.
Yeah.
Yep.
The segment works.
Yep.
Our first game this week is the Cowboys, 7-1 at the Steelers. Steelers favored by 2.5.
Interesting line here.
Very interesting. The Steelers have lost 3 in a row. Dallas, 7 straight wins. Incredible.
Pretty great.
Obviously, the big story here, Tony Romo is back at practice. I'm honestly wondering what it would take for Tony Romo to get back into a game, other than Dak getting injured, which is obvious.
It's tough because you got to put yourself in the mind of Jerry Jones, which is the thing I try not to do on a
what
daily
terrifying
basis.
Place.
Where things like circumcise the mosquito just roll off the tongue.
Yep.
I have no idea what's happening in his brain. I would say to a logical person, the thing that would have to happen for Tony Romo to get in would be that Dak would have to get hurt, which in this year of where we are in the league right now, like that's not unlikely.
Yeah.
You know? But they have a great offensive line, so it's why it's not as likely. I don't know. I don't think you put Tony Romo in now. You've won 7 straight. The Cowboys are doing well. The fan base is excited. Yes, they love Tony Romo, but it just doesn't make sense to kill the momentum
Yeah, I agree.
and the confidence of your young quarterback. Like
Yeah.
that decision will dictate where Dak's career goes. If you do really well and we take you out and replace you with this guy because we're loyal to him, well then what does that tell Dak? That he can do whatever he wants, but nobody has any confidence in him.
Yeah,
Which is not going to help.
I agree. The Dak Romo thing reminds me, speaking of the Steelers, a little bit of the Ben Roethlisberger, Tommy Maddox situation, which was a long time ago, but they drafted Ben Roethlisberger, the Steelers, in the first round. He was supposed to sit for a while because he came from a small school. But Tommy Maddox got hurt in week 2, and then the Steelers went 15-1. And it kind of reminds me of that. I remember watching Roethlisberger that year. They lost to the Pats in the AFC Championship that year. But they just looked so... Yeah, sorry, I don't know if you remember that. They just looked so dominant, and they didn't even miss a beat with Roethlisberger in there. And I wonder if that's how it's going to be for Dak.
Yeah.
Most of the way.
Well, the Cowboys are doing well, but who have they been beating?
Yeah, good question. They've only beaten one team with a winning record, and that's my Redskins in week 2.
So, I mean, it could take just a loss to a good team. I mean, again, you never know. I can say what I think I would do, but what I would do is nothing like what Jerry Jones and I have nothing in common.
Yeah.
Except I bet we both like naps.
Yes. Yeah, I bet he likes a good nap.
I bet we're both fans of sleeping before it's bedtime.
Yeah.
I think that's all we probably have in common.
Yeah. You like football. That's it.
Yeah. Jerry Jones and I, not much common ground.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Fair
both
point.
like the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
So cool. I'm gonna take the Cowboys
Taking the Cowboys.
because they're the underdog, and it doesn't make any sense. The Steelers have been so disappointing to me, and by disappointing
Yeah.
I mean they've lost me money, and I
Yes.
don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the problem is.
Right.
But I know Kay Adams said last week that Ben's really bad in his first game back from injury, but he's
Yes.
good in his second game back.
Yeah.
And so maybe this week they'll finally get their shit together.
Yeah.
Of course, Kay Adams said that more eloquently with numbers and stats.
Yeah.
I don't have those. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to go with the Cowboys because I never pick the Cowboys.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
maybe this means that they'll lose.
Yeah. Well, as a Redskins fan, I hope you're right. I think that I think I'm going to take the Steelers here. I just can't figure out if they're the team that's like 30 points worse than the Eagles
Yeah.
or like a good team that just has some weird bad games.
Are they the team we think they are and should be on paper, or are they
Right.
the team that they keep trying to show us that we are? And
Yeah.
we're like, no, you're good.
Yeah. I think we'll find out. This will be a good test.
Yeah.
Second game. Oh boy, doozy. 3-5 Rams at the 3-6 Jets.
You say doozy just
I
now?
did.
Okay.
Is this not a doozy, Katie?
It's a
I think it's a doozy.
Yeah.
The Jets are favored by 1.5 awful points. Weirdly, the Jets are 4-1-1 against the spread in their last 6 at home.
Okay.
What? Like,
I don't
how?
know. I don't
Are
understand.
they never
the Jets.
favored? And but they're 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 November games. So
That means nothing.
yeah, I guess go fuck yourself if you're betting on this. The Rams obviously are on a 4-game losing streak, but they refuse to start number 1 pick Jared Goff until they're out of playoff contention.
Cool.
So
3 weeks ago?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So like the opening day?
Yeah. So like last year and the next 5 years.
When the Rams are out, no one's gonna go, man, they just barely made it.
Yeah.
Or didn't make it. No.
How do they
Guys, they're the
determine
Rams.
that they're out of playoff contention? Like they're technically like going to be around until like week 15. Like there's a way.
Yeah. The Goff situation is a very interesting one and confuses me, but also I get it.
Do you? I
Well-
don't get it.
So the thing about having like a rookie quarterback is, and I've said this before, when you have a rookie quarterback, the thing that I understand is that it's tough to throw them out there in front of everybody and have them see whether they succeed or they fail. Fans are very, we want Manziel. This is what happened in the Browns. We want Manziel, and they got him, and it was like he had one good game, but then it's like fans either like he's the best or he's the fucking worst.
Yeah.
No one is ever like, that was a fine game. That's decent. No one's ever rational with a rookie quarterback. And so I think it's smart to have them not play for their first year, play under somebody they can learn from, so that when you finally put them out there, they're ready. The problem with the Rams was they did Hard Knocks.
Right.
So he was
true.
already on a national stage. We already learned a lot about Goff, and we're already all kind of like, I get why you're not putting him in. He doesn't know where the sun rises and sets. I don't think he can remember a complicated list of things or, go through the mental processes you need to go through as a quarterback. No one's
Yeah.
trusting his football IQ or his human IQ at the moment because of, sure, maybe one silly, stupid thing that happened, but it was on a national television show
Right.
that a lot of people watched, a lot of football fans watched. So, I think that either maybe they know that Goff is already in his head about that, or the way he reacted to the criticism he got for that. Maybe they're concerned with how he'll react to criticism if he's a bad quarterback. Or maybe they're like, fuck it, why waste him? He's all we have. He's our only card that we still are holding that we haven't shown what we have. Might as well hold on to it as a bargaining chip or something.
Could be. I think you're being pretty generous to the Rams' thought process.
I know.
I think you're giving them a bit of credit.
I've learned to do that over the last few days. Be really generous with people
putting
and their
yourself
thought
in Jeff
process.
Fisher's
Yep.
shoes. They traded 6 picks for Jared Goff.
Like pick 6.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
apt. It's a Case Keenum special. So, this was a great stat that producer Megan found from The Ringer. Last 6 first-round quarterbacks to make it November of their rookie years without starting an NFL game. This is the most amazing list of people. Johnny Manziel,
Okay.
Jake Locker, Tim
Okay.
Tebow, Josh Freeman, Jamarcus Russell, and Brady Quinn.
Wow.
None in the league.
No.
He just might suck. That might be the deal. He might suck.
He might suck. Or, counterpoint, maybe starting those never mind. Forget it. It's going to make a strong counterpoint that starting a rookie quarterback ruins their mentality. That's a lot to ask of somebody.
It is.
When the college system is so different now from the professional. To ask somebody to go from being the the quarterback like under center, the leader on the field there, and then be the leader on the field here with all these people who don't respect you because they have no idea who you are and you don't know where the sun rises and sets. Like, it's hard to, how is he going to lead those people in the locker room if he it's tough. I don't understand how we just expect people to make that transition. That's a transition. That's a position where the transition between amateur and quote unquote and pro is so different. Like, the responsibilities that you have are similar, but the way you did them before is very different from the way you're expected to do them now.
Totally. I think it's up to coaching staff to empower them, and this is not.
Jeff Fisher can do that. He's good at coaching and
yeah,
stuff.
Totally.
Sure.
Should we pick this doo-doo game?
I guess so. I mean, I'd actually skipped picking it as I'm looking at my notes because I think I went, don't care. I will take the Rams because they're the underdog, and I don't know.
They make no sense, so like they could easily win.
Exactly.
I'll
that
take
pick.
the stupid Jets. I hate the Jets. Last game, you will be attending the Seahawks at the Patriots. Can you believe this is a 7.5-point Patriots line? Incredible.
Why wouldn't I be able to believe that?
I feel like that's a very high line.
Have you seen the
very good team.
Seahawks?
Yeah, they actually looked pretty good this week.
They did. But the weeks before that, they did not.
They did not. Bill Belichick, 12-4 after the bye.
I don't want to talk about that man right now.
That's fair.
Seattle. Seattle. I'll stop.
I was like, what do I do in this bit? So New England is great against the spread this season, 7-1. Seattle's only 4-4 because they've been all over the place. What'd you make of that game Monday night?
That was a fantastic football game.
It was
I
really good.
I very much enjoyed watching that game.
Yeah.
The play at the end of the first half obviously has been talked to death, but it was just a clusterfuck of awful.
Yes.
And then we just found out before we started filming this podcast that Sherman's being fined $9,115 by the league for that hit on Bills kicker Dan Carpenter, and I don't understand how. Because that's saying it was a dirty hit,
right?
Which is admitting that the refs should have called that it was a dirty hit.
Yeah.
Which is saying that they made the mistake that people are saying if the Bills had kicked that kick would have been a tie. Like, it's a very interesting move by the NFL that I don't understand why they would make, because I don't think anyone was like, fine that man.
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
I don't get it either.
And I don't want to. It looked dirty, and I was confused by that hit.
Yeah.
I don't like the way Sherman played that game. It felt like he was angry in a way that I'm not that person who's like, oh, Richard Sherman's a punk and a thug. I hate those people.
Yeah.
That hit, I was like, this doesn't bode well with how I know you, because that doesn't seem like a thing you would do. And the way he explained it is he was offsides. He made a play on the ball because the rule is if you touch the ball and block the kick, you can hit the kicker. It doesn't make a difference. And It does look like that's what he was trying to do. I just don't understand why we fine the guy $9,000.
It's like do it or don't do it.
Yeah, for a thing you said wasn't that thing.
Right. Yeah, you can't not call it and then be like, oh, yeah.
This isn't, you can't hedge.
Like, yeah.
That's not how this works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't make a ton of sense.
I don't understand how the NFL is run. Put that on my tombstone. Here lies Katie Nolan. She did not understand what they were doing in the NFL.
Put that on all our tombstones, I think. So this was interesting. It's been over 5 years since the Seahawks lost by more than 10, which is making me kind of wonder about this line.
What an interesting stat.
Yeah, it is a good stat. But even more interesting, perhaps, did you see those pictures of the footballs in Seattle?
I did, Matt.
Thoughts?
People. The kicking balls are completely separate from the game balls.
Okay.
It is a set of balls that is used specifically just for kicking. All the photos that people are saying that Seattle deflates the balls are of kicking and punting. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to do this.
Look
at they're deflating the
last
ball.
thing our country needs.
I really don't think we need this right now.
Yeah.
Also, if you take a picture of someone while they're kicking something that has a little give to it as hard as they can, it's going to look really dented in that moment.
I
That
agree.
doesn't mean if you pick it up and squeeze it, also there's no advantage to underinflating a kicking ball that actually makes it probably harder to kick.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Let's not do this, guys. Trust me, I'm not abandoning my Patriots friends, but like, let's not be stupid because it weakens our actually legitimate arguments that Deflategate was a waste of everybody's time. This furthers a conversation that does not need to continue. They're not deflating their balls. If they are, everybody probably is. Who fucking cares?
Right.
Let's play some football. That's how I feel.
That was a really interesting and responsible answer, and I'm into it. I agree. I don't think they're deflating him. I think if you take a picture at the right moment, it's like a foot is.
This is the
striking
same
a ball,
shit
like,
that was used against us. I get it. They're revolting as like, they did it to us, we'll do it back to them. But let's chill. That's what's put us in the situation that we're in currently as a nation. So let's please just stop. The balls are fine. The kickers suck. We're going to get rid of them anyway.
Are we still talking about deflated footballs?
Yes. Ban kickers.
Want to make a pick?
Yeah, Patriots -7.5.
Shocker.
Hey, I've picked against them a lot of times.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You're scaring me how you're looking at me, so I'm going to pick them too.
I don't know. Who knows if they'll win? That's a big line. I just feel like I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need this. Just this. Lock of the week time?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think Denver +2.5 at New Orleans.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
New Orleans
Wait,
is
maybe
a
it's
good
not
one, then.
+2.5. Is it -2.5?
No, they're the underdogs.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, Denver +2.5 at New Orleans. That's
I
how
like
feel.
it. I like it.
Yeah. Why'd I put a dash next to your pick? Oh, because I liked it. All right, like I said earlier, we had a guest on this week's podcast, very interesting guest, who's Gotham Chopra, son of Deepak Chopra, executive producer of the new Audience Network show, The Religion of Sports. We talked about the show, which I'm fascinated by because as a sports fan, this is one of those things, if you've ever been a part of a rabid fan base, you know what he's talking about the second you hear Religion of Sports. So we talked about some of the sports that he experienced this with and studied for the show. We talked about his relationship with Tom Brady, which I'm not jealous of at all. And if it sounds like I am, it's just because I'm like trying to be nice.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to make him feel like being friends with Tom Brady is cool, even though it's totally not.
Be generous of you.
Yep. And we talked about how his dad, Deepak Chopra, has no idea who Kobe Bryant is. Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
This is like when Derek Jeter retired and like whoever worked at CBS, remember, tweeted out like, congratulations to Michael Jeter on his retirement. And everyone was like, have you ever walked outside of your house ever once? Anyway, take a listen. Gotham Chopra, thank you for being here. You have a new series coming out Tuesday, November 15th on the Audience Network, The Religion of Sports. I want to talk about that. Tell me a little bit. Give me like the elevator pitch.
The elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is Religion of Sports explores the dynamic subcultures around sports. It's the convergence of spirituality and sports, which I think is not just like a metaphor, it's a real thing. Everything we associate with religion and spiritual traditions exist in sports.
What was your experience with religion growing up?
You know, I grew up in a family where there was a lot of spirituality. I wouldn't really necessarily call myself religious. We didn't subscribe to any specific religion. We didn't go to temple or church or any of that sort of stuff, but it was definitely a part of my upbringing. I went to a pretty traditional Catholic school in Boston, so I was around it my whole life. My father, of course, who's Deepak, has...
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Your dad is... Oh, wow.
People never, that never really comes up, but I just figured I'd volunteer it. So I was around my father and sort of interesting people that came in and out of our lives through that. So I was exposed to a lot of great spiritual teachers, I guess. But I was a true believer of the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots. And so I started
The New England Revolution.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, how could I forget? But, I started as a teenager to realize, like, wow, everything my dad sort of talking about in these spiritual traditions exists in sports. I mean, going to Fenway is like, going to Mecca.
Yeah.
Being at the Boston Garden, I used to go to the old Garden, which I'm aging myself. You sort of become part of something bigger than yourself. So for me, this is this is it. Like, it's not some sort of idea I had. It's based on real life experience.
Yeah, I mean, if growing up in Boston and being a Boston fan, it's one of the cities within America that it really is a religious experience.
The city, but
Yeah,
so,
yes, but to be diplomatic,
Yeah, I know,
given that
whatever.
last night a World Series was won by Chicago.
Yes.
When did you fall in love with sports? Like, what was the moment that brought you to sports?
So I remember, I'm first generation American. I'm the first person in my family ever to sort of be born and raised here in the United States. And the rest of my family, I mean, my mother, God bless her, like, has supported my addiction to sports. But the rest of my family just could care less. They don't
Really?
understand. My father in particular, I'll tell you a funny story about that later. But like, they never really got it. So fortunately, we had a family friend who had season tickets to the Celtics during the 80s when I was sort of coming of age. And I remember going to, in 1986, game 2 or 3 of the first round of the NBA playoffs, where Michael Jordan scored 63 points against the Celtics in double overtime loss. And I just remembered that game. I had really good seats. Like, I had seen Michael Jordan on TV, but like, it was a revelation. I mean, I'd never seen anyone perform like that. And I think like that whole crowd, I remember just being sort of in stunned silence. So I think that was like the moment. I was always sort of a fan. I loved watching. But that, and then combined with later that year with, the Red Sox sort of collapse, seeing both sides of that, that was probably the turning point for me.
And so your dad hates sports.
My dad doesn't really understand sports. He just doesn't really get it. Like, he doesn't really understand why people love sports so much, like why we're so devoted to it.
Right.
A couple of years ago when I was working with Kobe, on Kobe Bryant on a different project, Behind Enemy Lines, Kobe, who's been quite open about his curiosity around spiritual things, and he had learned how to meditate years ago with Phil Jackson, but needed a refresher. And so I said, well, I can, introduce you to my dad. He does that. So Kobe was like, great. So I was taking Kobe down to meet my dad at his office. And I told my dad, I'm like, listen, Kobe just wants to, you don't need to like try to, befriend him, or like, he's like, no, don't worry. It's fine. Like, it's totally easy. I meet people all the time. So I said, fine. So we walk in and my dad says, oh, it's so nice to meet you. He keeps texting me. It's like, what time is Colby, Colby, coming?
Oh.
And
Wait,
then
really didn't know who Kobe Bryant
no.
was. Just
he knew
what
he was
year
some
is this?
guy I was working with.
Oh my
That he
goodness.
plays basketball, because I told him that. So then we walk in
Colby.
and my dad shakes his hand and says, it's so great to meet you. I've heard you've won so many Super Bowls. And I was just and Kobe thought it was great and really funny and stuff. But yeah, that's about my dad's level of knowledge, like, in sports.
So making this series about spirituality and sports and that relationship, is part of that, so that you kind of can explain to your father, like, this is what it is?
I'm done trying to explain things to my father. I think for me, this was an ongoing debate, though, as I was growing up. Is like, look, everything you talk about, in spiritual or religious traditions exists in sports. And whereas in religion, like, you kind of have to believe, and there's dogma and there's rules and there's bureaucracy. Sports, there's like attendance, show up. And I mean, last night, right? Like,
Yeah.
It happens. Miracles happen. Deliverance happens. All you have to do is show up. So, yeah, I think my father and I sort of agree to disagree on this. He just can't understand, like, how people would rather watch Cubs Indians game 7 than sort of worry about the nature of true reality.
Yeah.
But,
It's funny because it makes you sometimes feel, working in sports and caring so much about sports, I feel like I'm not doing anything larger than me. There's no bigger, but that's why your documentary makes me very happy, because now I feel like I have a bigger purpose.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's like a religion.
It's not like religion. It is a religion.
Good, okay, I'll start writing this on my
Yeah.
census forms. What were some of the most surprising things you found when making? I mean, I watched the first part, which was NASCAR based, and you talk about the relationship between how NASCAR is very popular in a place where religion is also actual religion, established religion, is also very important. Did you find more of like a connection between religion, like organized religions and sport, like a connection between Christianity or
Sure.
Catholicism and NASCAR, or more like NASCAR as church?
I am more interested, I would say, in the latter. Like NASCAR is its own religion. Yes, in the South, for example, you're talking about certain evangelical communities and Christian communities. But I'm less sort of interested in the intersection of sports. There's only so many times we can sort of talk about Tim Tebow or prayer circles or that is less interesting to me. It's sort of like, a one-trick pony versus the idea of sports as a religion and the diversity of that. So, yes, we did the South, but we also did, I look at UFC, the fastest rising sport in this country, or maybe even the world, and it's like a cult. I mean, it's like it grew out of the desert, and it's the most primordial sport there is. Two people go into a cage, and one of them comes out, and so I was sort of fascinated across the board, and we did 2 international episodes also, and I think what I started to discover is like there's no place, frankly, on planet Earth that you can't go where some people aren't somehow obsessed with sports. And sometimes it's like the biggest stage. It's Real Madrid versus FC Barcelona. Or sometimes it's like this regional rivalry. Even the NASCAR thing for me was less about the Coca-Cola 600 and the big sort of NASCAR race that we went to. It was about the dirt track, like South Carolina, Wednesday night, $2 entrance fee. We were shooting on that dirt track, and at one point I asked, there's a guy who sort of stands, he's the guy who starts the race. I was like, can we go shoot on the inside of the track, like the dirt track? And he was like, if you can make it.
Oh my God. Did you do it?
Yeah, you time running across like with cameras and stuff. I mean, but like, it's like the difference between going to your Sunday church versus St. Peter's. Like where St. Peter's, you're sort of behind the red velvet rope and like you can only be there because they're moving you through. Whereas like this is you get to go up on the altar, like touch things, sort of like peek behind the confession
Drink
booth.
all the wine.
Yeah, exactly. And so the sort of at the community level is kind of cooler in some ways.
Yeah. You mentioned the word cult. What would you say are the differences between, referring to sports as a religion or as a cult, and how do you see it as more spiritual and religious?
Sure. Well, cults, generally are what religions are before they get organized, before they get institutionalized, before they, take on that formality and grow and have bureaucracy and all of that sort of stuff. I mean, Christianity itself started as a cult, right?
It's just such a scary word.
Yeah,
It's like,
it does. It has a negative sort of connotation.
Yeah.
Our offices where we're editing this right now in Los Angeles is across the street from the Scientology building. And it's fascinating. But, I don't know, like maybe we should sort of, it's early stage religion, so we don't have sort of the taint of cult. But, what cults do is like, actually, we have an whole episode on esports right now. And while esports has become such a massive thing in terms of when you look at the actual numbers, that it's probably not fair to describe it as a cult anymore. But when you talk to the kids, and they're mostly kids who are sort of drawn to esports, either as competitors or fans, it's satisfying a really sort of basic need that they're not finding in any other sport. A sense of community and belonging and all these things that, again, religion does. So I think, cults are sort of that religion in its sort of infancy. They eventually evolve and become huge. And in sports, they become multi-billion-dollar industries, and that's where things get complicated.
Yeah. What about esports? It's on the rise. A lot of people are on the fence and confused about it as a sport.
Right.
What was your experience spending time with them?
Yeah, I mean, but like, probably pre-Tiger Woods, we never really thought of golf as a sport.
No.
It wasn't until some athletic guy showed up and sort of made it.
But for golf, you do at least have to stand up.
Right.
Right?
Well, there's that. Yeah, well, but race car driving, you don't have to stand up.
Good argument.
I think, and esports requires a level of sort of agility and dexterity and hand-eye coordination for sure that, is definitely an athletic sort of quality. But, this is sort of one of the things that makes it a cult. Like cults, people don't recognize as a real religion. But you find these, and you're talking about like hundreds of thousands of people
Yeah.
who now show up to these events, and there's all these new channels, ESPN and Turner Sports. Everybody's got like an E network in the in the making. So it also like it draws the sort of disenfranchised, especially in the world of sports. Like typically, until recently, esports draws on the quote geeky kids, like the kids who can't perform, physical feats on the soccer pitch or the football field or whatever. So it's sort of drawing from this community of the disenfranchised, the kids who have sometimes been bullied and whatever. It's also why you see like a lot of kind of violence in some of the games. So again, it's like an interesting phenomena. And like by and large, we sort of went in and tried not to judge, but just to observe and document. And I think esports is one. It's also just from a filmmaking standpoint, it's a challenge because, like you put a camera on a race car or a bull rider or
like a
soccer
GoPro
player.
didn't revolutionize filming video games.
Yeah.
There's really no way to.
So it was a challenge from that. But like you go into some of those arenas and like you watch how people just react to like, League of Legends players. I don't even really, frankly, understand. Like League of Legends is complicated.
Yes.
I get. Like,
I've tried to watch esports. I don't. I'm like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, so we did some
tough.
fun stuff like where we had these people the same way like you can sit with Kobe and Kobe can like walk you through a game.
Yeah, I can sit with Kobe. Sure.
Yeah. Like you sit with some of these and you have them like walk you through like what's going on, and it can get kind of cool and interesting. I don't know that I'm gonna sort of
be a gamer now.
Yeah, be a gamer, but like I can appreciate it.
All right, guys, more with Gotham in a minute, but first I want to tell you about Identity Guard. Have you ever lost or thought you lost your phone? It's the worst. If you're like me, your life is on that phone. Lots of things about your life. Guess what? Identity thieves know that. And when your lost phone winds up in the hands of an identity thief, it can be the beginning of a disaster, financially, emotionally, even physically, and that could take years to undo. So protect yourself with Identity Guard. You get protection from a company that's been in the business for over 20 years, one that's helped protect more than 47 million people. Identity Guard continuously monitors millions of transactions and articles and sends you the news, tools, and guidance you need to minimize your risk. Plus, if you were to become a victim of identity theft, which I really hope doesn't happen, but if you were, Identity Guard's victim recovery specialist will be there to help you through the recovery process. Identity Guard even offers identity theft insurance with coverage of up to $1 million. So get the identity theft protection service that's right for you. Visit Identity Guard at identityguard.com/podcast. That's identityguard.com/podcast. The podcast today is also brought to you by Audible. Audible's offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audible.com/garbagetime and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening today. It's that easy. Their content includes an unmatched selections of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers. There's a lot of stuff there, so go to the website and find it. And with the free Audible app, you can access your books anytime, anywhere, right from your smartphone. And unlike other streaming or rental services, you own your books. They're yours, and you can even share them and audio excerpts from them with your favorite friends.
Yeah.
Or your least favorite friends.
It's very cool.
You can share them with anybody you want to.
Even excerpts.
Yeah, right? You'd be like, I read this thing or had it read to me, and then someone else, you can send it to somebody.
Share the love.
Another cool thing about Audible, you can send out an entire book to your friends.
Yeah.
And if it's their first time receiving a book, wonder who they voted for. It's their first time receiving a book, it's free. Cool. There are books on there. Like, what are you reading right now?
I'm still reading Zen.
Because we work too much.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No. I want to read the Chuck Klosterman book.
Which
Wonderful
one?
Wrong, because I feel like that's like kind of where we all are right now. It's like, how did this happen?
Also available on Audible, The Art of the Deal. To get a free audiobook with a 30-day trial, go to audible.com/garbagetime. That's audible.com/garbagetime and get started today. All right, back to Gotham Chopra. What sport did you find when doing this that had the strongest, or what you would say is this like the strongest religious pull? What sports did you start there? What sports did you study for this series?
Well, so what was cool about this series is actually I purposely started to explore. We started to explore sports I wasn't as familiar with it. I grew up Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox, Patriots. Feel like I know everything to know anything. I played a lot of Madden in my life, so I do know that. So that stuff I kind of knew, and I'd worked with the NBA and NFL. This was an opportunity. Like, of course, I knew, but I had never been to a NASCAR race. I knew about NASCAR. I'd never been to
I
a
went
race.
to my first one this year.
It's
Daytona.
amazing.
It was
Well, yeah.
amazing.
I had never been to a UFC fight. I had certainly never been to a rodeo. So
So it was your first rodeo?
it was definitely my first. I popped my cherry at my first rodeo. Yes. So all of that was, yeah, it was for me, it was like natural curiosity to go, and they all kind of, rodeo is pretty amazing because of like the connection between humans and animals and the sort of nature thing that's going on, and you see like a lot of the riders like communicating in the stables with their horses and stroking them and talking to them and having these real relationships with them. I mean, I grew up in Boston. Like I had a dog.
Never been next to a horse in my life.
So that had its own sort of brand of spirituality to it. I loved the episode we did in Glasgow, the two city teams, Celtic Rangers, that, one is predominantly Catholic fan base, the other one predominantly Protestant. And it's like, as we both know, like we think Red Sox Yankees, like that's a rivalry. No, like this is a rivalry. This is 100 years that goes back, these two teams. But like literally they're like, oh wait, but first let's start talking about the Crusades and then the Reformation. And it's like, you have to understand, these two faiths in collision before you even get to the last 100 years of, soccer matches.
Yeah, that's very intense.
Yeah.
Tom Brady and Michael Strahan, our executive producers, are listed as them on the show. What was their involvement in this?
Well, so, both of them have, play executive producer roles. They've both been pretty active. I mean, the sort of backstory on that is, at least with Tom, is, Tom used to spend, so I've lived in Los Angeles now for like 13, 14 years. And despite still maintaining my loyalties to Boston very much. It's not that tough around LA fans.
Oh, yeah,
but,
it's not that tough. It's tough here.
Yeah. So Tom used to spend his off seasons, he had a home in Brentwood at the top of the hill. I used to call him like Edward Scissorhands, like never left that house. And so I just met Tom with like mutual friends. Everyone knows that I'm a huge, trust me, I had
this
to
hasn't happened to me. Everyone's like, oh, I just knew a guy who knew a guy.
Yeah.
Now I'm hanging out with Tom.
I had to like definitely like compose myself, like I have another funny anecdote which I'll tell you, but like so I started like talking to Tom and like just trying to sort of be somewhat composed when I was around him. So like, not talking to him, but like, remember that game against the Steelers when you like, so I started talking about this, like it's easier to, and Tom was like, yeah, no, I get it. Like, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I speak of religion and sports as a fan. Tom has lived
As
at
a
the
god.
epicenter.
He is the god.
Yeah. Yes. And so he just loved the idea, and he was like, well, I want to, like, how can I help? How can I be involved? And I was like, yeah, just that is helpful. Like, so
let me put your name on
everything. Given me a lot of
really
inspiration.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And Tom's just it's been great. Look, it's a new medium for him. So like I send him cuts, and stuff like that.
God.
Even when we were choosing a lot of these ideas, he sort of participated in that. Obviously, having both Michael and Tom, when you need access, when you need, help with the UFC and Dana White, it's nice to have, those guys to pick up the phone or write an email. So they definitely serve that executive producer role. And now as we sort of get it out there, I mean, Michael, obviously this is his world now. He knows, I mean, he is an active producer and he's got great people around him. So yeah, they've both been really, cool, both at the sort of creative level. Like Michael's come over to the edit room, sat in, like watched rough cuts with us.
How does that man have time in his life to
like,
do anything? I feel like he's flying back and forth, working every minute of every day.
He is. I mean, and he's just like always energetic and
and
enthusiastic.
kind
Yeah. He's the best.
Crazy.
He's the best.
So what you said is you have Tom's like contact information?
Yeah.
That's
totally.
what you were saying?
Yeah, of course.
Do you just want to like leave that here with me? Wait, I'm curious to know what that anecdote was that you was it about Tom?
It was about Tom. So this was like when I was first getting to know him, and I went to some party in LA, and he and Giselle call her G, because we're like that.
Sure.
Whatever. And so
Does she radiate light when you
they
sit
both
next? Is it just
radiate,
like
yeah.
shiny and beautiful? Oh, God.
So we went to this
Sorry.
party. I went to this party, and I was like sort of hyper, but trying to keep. And I came home, and my wife was like, "Oh, like what was Giselle wearing?" It's like, I don't know, but like Tom was wearing like this Tom Ford suit, and like it was. So yeah, but I've slowly over the years sort of been able to detach myself from that sort of strange obsession.
But that's sort of what you're studying, right? That's sort of what you're talking about, is this obsession with these people. And when gods are humans, when you meet Tom
Yeah.
Brady, was that an interesting experience for how you looked at it?
It is. It definitely is. I mean, again, I've been around this in other capacities, like, through my father, and people, like, I see how people react to him, and I'm like, what? Him? Like, so I've been around it, which is helpful. But like, yeah, sports is kind of a different thing for me. Like, but I will also say, and having gotten to know them, like, the danger of this is like when you deify these guys and athletes in general, as I'm sure like they're amazing in this one aspect of their life, they're like the sort of human potential, physical, like they're mythic when you see Michael Jordan in that game, or Kobe or Tom or whatever. But look, they're human beings often, but they're under this scrutiny and under this glare. They make mistakes for sure. And so it can be, I've definitely had to like sort of try to step back and not sort of fall into that trap. One of the things I love about the series is it's really not about superstar athletes. Like our NASCAR thing, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s in it, Kurt Busch is in it, but it's not like it was about them, that we sort of just glorified them. It's really about the culture around sports, and many times like the fans who want to share their stories, who want to tell you why this thing matters so much, versus like the athlete who's like, oh, I'll show you this part of myself, which is great, but let's not look over here, which I too occasionally I'm like, yeah, let's not look over there. That's not good for anyone.
But it's like you said, that's the danger of it being a religion. How do we avoid as sports fans turning these humans into these larger than life beings? You kind of looked at it in your documentary you did about your father, where you showed him in ways that people hadn't seen him before, and everyone was like, wait, why is he laying on the couch and snoring? And, so like, is there a value or like too much of a danger in treating sports as a religion and treating these human beings as if they're
like there is in religion, yes, there's a dark side, and there's scandals, and there's there's shadows, in some of those places that you don't necessarily want to get too close to. But it's actually not that different than sort of being a parent, where you're like, hey, admire and aspire to this thing over here. Aspire to how hard Kobe Bryant works at his craft and his goal to be the best. That is admirable. But don't you don't know, you don't know Kobe Bryant off the court. You don't know any of these people off the court. And so, you have to sort of draw boundaries. And, as a parent, I'm definitely one's like, yeah, you can admire this. We can go to games, we can like really sort of marvel in what happens on these fields. But like, you're off the court stuff. This is where you should come. Like, there's like people in your family, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think, worship like what is on the pedestal of the field and stuff like that, but be careful about what's off of it.
Yeah, that's smart. Let's talk about Kobe, because you, Boston guy, yes. Kobe hater, is that safe to say, at least prior to?
Not just prior, no.
Still, yeah.
I love Kobe, but that's like one of the things. Kobe is the love-hate guy. Like, everything with him is
symbol about it or whatever.
Yeah.
Villain.
But I used to joke with him, like at the beginning, I'm like, like this, because our sort of documentary started around when he ruptured his Achilles and he started working his comeback. I was like, Kobe, you don't like know how many times I've wished this upon you.
Like, this is actually probably my fault.
Yeah. So, but like Kobe loves that. Everything in Kobe's life is he loves friction and tension, and like he thrives off of it. And so, I got to know him. So I'll tell you another story, like, which is like when I first met Kobe, it was at like some charity event, and I was like, I grew up a huge Celtics fan, so it was the first thing I went to talk to him, and he's like, oh, you're sort of a Celtics fan, like, and Kobe grew up Lakers fan in Italy, loving Magic Johnson, all that sort of stuff, hating the Celtics. so that was fun for like the first 5 or 10 minutes, but then Kobe was like, let me tell you like what, not, j- let me tell you what made Larry Bird great. Let me tell you what Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Scott Wedman, Greg Kite. Like he knew everything about every guy on the 80s roster. And, Kobe, well, he's a basketball savant. So he's like, watch Larry's, pump fake. And it's not his, knees or it's not his shoulders, it's his eyes. Like, and he's just such a basketball geek. And so I was like, sort of in heaven, like, just watching tape with Kobe Bryant. And he's a genius when it comes to basketball. And it's not just like that era. Then he was like, let me show you, like, Larry got that from George Gervin. Like, watch this. And, Russell Westbrook, what he does, he got it from, whatever, this guy. And he's just like, he just loves the game so much that for a fan, it just sort of became like unbelievable to be around that.
How did making that documentary come about?
I had met Kobe, like, at this charity thing a couple of years ago. And then, even at that time, he must have been, this was post 2012. And so Kobe was starting to think about life after basketball. And he's always been, he loves storytelling and filmmaking and all this stuff. So, we started talking about that. I was doing a 30 for 30 at the time. And we just kept in touch. And he always said, I want to do a documentary. Let's do something together. But I could never really figure out what it was until he, ruptured his Achilles and he like said that night, like, I'm coming back. So I like texted him. I was like, we should just roll on this. This is now like all this other stuff you want to talk about, we could talk about, but we'll have like the spine of a story to track this comeback. And so he was just like, okay, and again, like, so that's just how it started. And he was incredibly open. I mean, for a guy who's been the opposite, like just never been willing to really say anything most of his career, all of a sudden was like, yeah, sure, show up at my house, like, ride with me to practice, take the helicopter with me,
Oh,
like,
come on. All right, enough of that story. So do you still hate Kobe Bryant, is the question.
I sort of like, because when I was working with him, I was like, wow, he's actually kind of a good guy. He really works hard.
Don't you hate when you have to realize that? I'm like, oh, fine.
And then it was like even worse. Like I was around the Lakers. I'm like, wow, they're kind of like, Jeannie Buss is really kind of nice. Like this organization is kind of well put together and all that stuff. So I went through a phase of like not hating the Lakers, but like just begrudgingly sort of like respecting them.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel like I've sort of been able to sort of baptize myself again and I can hate them again. Kobe's gone and it's like, Lakers are sort of rebuilding and getting better and the Celtics are good and stuff. So I'm back to sort of like where I was before, which is a much more satisfying place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard. It's, the thing is like living in LA where you're just surrounded by like Laker
That's the face
fans.
everybody makes when they talk about LA and sports. Like,
yeah.
Is
I've
it as
tried
bad
to
as-
be, like I love the Red Sox, always going to be a Red Sox fan. But because my kid is like, basically born and raised in LA and he's a huge sports fan and he loves all the Red Sox fans and loves all the Boston teams. We try to come back as often as possible to go to games. But I'm like, I should really just let him be a fan of a local team also.
That's interesting.
So it's like, it can't be Lakers. Definitely like can't be like the Angels. Like that would be disgusting. Like, so I was like, I'll give the Dodgers. Like that's safe, like tradition and like it's National League. So we went to a game last year when they were playing the Mets in the playoffs. And I was like really trying to get into it. And then I was like, in the seventh inning, I was like, wow, like I guess like if we left now, like we could beat traffic. I was like, oh my God, like I would never, ever, ever think about that at like
What
the Red
has
Sox or
happened to you?
No, what happened to me is like I will never do that at with my teams. And I was like, yes, I guess I'm really not a Dodgers fan.
No.
I cannot be a Dodgers fan.
That's interesting. So
So-
you're gonna let your kid be a local?
I know
Because
he's going to
religion,
be
you're not like pick whichever one you want. Just pick. You can be
he's
whichever
going to be a
religion.
Boston fan first, but like he also like we don't. I grew up in Boston, so I didn't really have a college team. College sports are not
Yeah,
a big thing
same.
or whatever. So I was like, I guess I could be a USC fan. Like that could become my team.
Yeah.
Of course, they've been on sanctions for the last 5 years, so that
Good
hasn't
pick.
been helpful. But so yeah, but he's actually, to his credit, like he's he was a Tom Brady zombie for Halloween, which was kind of cool.
I like it.
So he's like definitely maintained, like he's a big sort of Boston fan, and we make the effort. We sort of come back and
right.
go to games.
You better.
Yeah.
You can't. We've got to build more of us. There's not enough, as I have 4 in the office. What we were talking before about the World Series. That was last night. This podcast won't be for another week, but you said something interesting that I want to ask about really quickly is in the business that you're in, it wouldn't make sense for you to root against a curse root for a curse to be broken.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are Cubs fans, so I've kind of felt guilty about this. And if it were anyone else, I probably would have rooted against the Indians too, just because Cleveland and they won the NBA championship and all that. But I found myself kind of rooting against the Cubs for the simple reasons, like curses are not, I mean, unless it's the Red Sox, curses are not a bad thing. They're fun for everyone else, bro.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of rooting against it. And I will say also as a Red Sox fan, my whole life up until 2004 was defined by not winning,
right.
And after that, I love what we did in 2004, and I say we because I feel
we're
like
on the
I'm,
team.
of
Yeah,
course.
of course, obviously.
And 2007 and 2013, but it's different now. Now we are one of the institutions. We are one of the teams that spends endless money and does all of that. It's just really different, and I love it. And I'd be if we were still cursed, it would be torture. But I don't know. It's a very different. We were a different type of community. Before the Red Sox and everyone else. I mean, talk about a run for Boston sports.
Yeah,
so.
It's tragedy brought people together.
Yes.
And now it's the success makes everyone else just hate us so much. So do we all hate Chicago now, I guess is the question. And we give it a couple weeks. I don't know what we how we do this.
They still, the Bears, the Blackhawks have been great.
Yeah.
The Bulls have been, obviously a dynasty once, but I don't know, if you look at our run from 2004 to when the Patriots delivered this year, that's pretty
obnoxious.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Gotham.
Yes.
It was very fascinating. I could talk to you about this forever.
Yes.
Everyone definitely check out the show. It premieres Tuesday, November 15th at 8 p.m. on Audience Network, correct?
Correct.
Okay, very excited.
Thank you.
Big thanks to Gotham. He's cool.
Yeah.
And smart.
Yes.
And
nice
friends
dude.
with all of the people I want to be friends with. So let's do junk mail.
Junk mail from Mike Wieners. At Mike_Wieners. Yeah.
Are you a
That's his name.
sandwich?
This is a really good question, Mike_Wieners. After recent SNL, totally see Rizzo, referring to Anthony of the Cubs, becoming MLB's Gronk. Thoughts?
Why do you say that's a really good question? I'm curious.
I could see it.
How?
He is kind of a lovable goofball, young, charismatic, star on a championship team in a big market. That's my analogy.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see where people would see that. I actually recently felt like Rizzo was like a Chris Weidman. Like a very nice, understated, there to do his job kind of guy. But, Gronk really is that too. Gronk just has that, the funny, drunk, sexualizing side that I don't think I see Rizzo having. But I get the comparison. I just don't know that it's groundbreaking or illuminating in any way.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I learned anything about them. Am I just being negative about the world?
No.
A little bit?
No, I think
What are you trying to say when you say that? It's not a big deal.
I think that
I can see it.
Mike_Wieners will be happy that we discussed him.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
I've met them both, which is I feel very
Mike
honored
and
to have
Wieners?
said that. Yeah, I've met Mike and Wieners.
Yes. Good bit.
I've met Rizzo and Gronk. Granted, I met Gronk at 7 in the morning to play mini golf. And
Chugged a beer with him and threw a football
yeah,
to him.
but that was 3 seconds. He was rushed from one thing to the next. I think also Rizzo was at 7 in the morning too. Now that I think about it.
You also did we drink a beer with him?
Did I wake up next to both of these men?
They were both guests on the show.
No was the answer. I did not. But yeah, Rizzo's got a whole history that I feel like a lot of people don't know, like cancer and surviving and getting through that. So I don't know.
He's awesome.
Yeah, they're both awesome to be clear.
Also
whatever.
in sports. Yeah.
I love everybody and everything, and I'm sorry if I said anything mean. that's it for the Garbage Time Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, guys. You can rate us and leave a comment, but maybe not this week. I don't want to.
Leave a comment.
I can't take
tell
it.
us so we can get
I
through
can't
it.
take it. Yeah, but I also don't want like 1-star liberal agenda. So I don't have an agenda. I just want everybody to be happy. I don't want to go backwards. You can also listen on SoundCloud, Art19. You can watch this video on youtube.com/Katie Nolan. Really, you can listen. You can listen wherever it is you like to listen to podcasts. Like
My favorite part of the podcast.
like
right now.
like one of those bendy straws.
They do podcasts now.
Yeah. Well, so you've got to stick it in your toaster at just the right time.
Oh.
But yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is it in between the bagel and bread
Yeah,
sections on
it's
the
like
toaster?
it's like the the setting of toast that nobody would ever want, which is like the
Yeah.
very lowest.
Yeah.
Who wants to toast their bread for
Yeah,
3
come
seconds?
on.
That's how you get your straw to. Don't try it at home. I'm realizing now that I just got a bunch of people to maybe set fire to their
really?
kitchen.
Yeah.
But you could do that if you needed to. But there's so many other ways to listen to the podcast, so why not just listen to them that way? Thanks to producer Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks
Get
to
through
all of
this.
our producers for helping me get through this week. Thanks to you guys for listening. We will see you next week. I love you. I do. I mean it. Bye. I love you and I mean it. Bye. I love you. I mean it.